Hi, this is Jacob Greasing, up for the position at Random Middle School as a PE teacher, and I just want to run through all my lesson plans real quick, along with my dance and rhythms, warm-up activities, and all of that stuff that I have planned for the course. So let's start with the DNR activities. I'm going to start from 6th grade and go down. So I kind of plan similar type of activities for lesson 6A, lesson 7A, and lesson 8A, and then similar activities on lesson 6B, 7B, and 8B for each of the different sectors of educational gymnastics, educational games, and educational dance. So let's get right into it and start going through some of these. So lesson 6A, that is the Baby Shark song by Pink Fong. So for this activity, the students are going to need drumsticks, they're going to need the buckets, and the exercise balls. So the exercise ball is going to sit on top of the bucket, that way they can hit the exercise ball, as well as do motions with the sticks, and also hitting the bucket with the sticks. So all of that, you will just be following along with me, as well as the cardio drumming video that will be presented somewhere on the screen or on a projector. Moving on to lesson 6B, I kind of picked a more fun song. The first set is kind of like a goofy song to do cardio drumming with. The B lessons for this section are more kind of upbeat, fun songs that hopefully the kids will like. So for 6th grade, I have the Rockin' Robin song by Bobby Day. So the same type of thing. They're going to use drumsticks, buckets, and exercise balls. They're going to follow along with me and the cardio drumming video. And I think the kids will really enjoy this. The next one, so kind of a more goofy song again, for 7th grade this time, is Ghostbusters. I think they'll really like this. Kind of a goofier song, but kind of like really, really well known. So I think this will be a good cardio drumming song to go along with their warm-up. Cardio drumming is a great warm-up, gets you sweating, gets the blood pumping. So for their second activity for lesson 7B, again, an upbeat, fun song, well-known. I picked the song Happy by Pharrell Williams. It's featured in a couple kids' movies, so very well-known by this point. I'm sure all these kids will know this song. Very popular song, and I thought that was a great, energetic one to go along with the fun songs I picked. So lesson 8A, we have kind of a more relaxed, fun song, kind of goofy though, is YMCA by the Village People. So cardio drumming again, this whole section was cardio drumming with the educational gymnastics, just to get the blood pumping. It's a great warm-up to get the kids moving, but also have a lot of fun. I've watched a lot of different videos where kids are really enjoying cardio drumming opposed to a lot of different activities. So I thought this was a great way to warm them up. For lesson 8B, they have the song Can't Stop the Feeling by Justin Timberlake, which was also in a animated movie, Trolls. So also very well known for the kids at this time. I'm sure they all know the song, and they probably know exactly where it's played in the movie. So with all of these different things, you're going to be following along with me. I'll be in front of the class doing the cardio drumming along with the video to just help them visually, depending on if they want to look at me or the video. Either would be great. So for the warm-up section for gymnastics, I had each group do 2 days of cardio drumming. So the first day was kind of like a meme type of song where it was more like a joke or just a song to kind of just be really catchy and well-known. The second day, each day, they had a cardio drumming warm-up that was more energetic, like I was saying earlier, more happy and well-known. So these are very fun songs, a lot of beats, a lot of movements, can get them really warmed up and ready for the day. So these songs would also include more movement and progress toward the students to get towards more complicated moves as well, which is why we're able to do it with so many different grades. So moving into the educational game warm-ups for 6th through 8th grade, the first 3 I have set for the 15-minute video that we went over that I had watched in college. It is a very great full body stretch. It's by MadFit. So all you need for this is yourself and a yoga mat. It requires very little equipment, which is great for schools with a lower budget. So you really just follow along with the yoga instructor and of course me as well, as we will be doing the different full body stretches. It's very relieving to just be able to breathe during these stretches and kind of get loosened up. It allows your muscles to open up, relax, kind of just melt away some of the pain and soreness that they might have going through a week of playing educational games, depending on what we're doing. So it's a great way for each grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, to all just stretch those muscles and get some relief there, as well as relieve a lot of stress. Stretching and yoga kind of go hand in hand in where they are relieving muscle pain, but at the same time they are also allowing just yourself to relax, get some peace, get some alone time, some stress relief, as all these kids are going through a bunch of stress. They're worried about a lot of different things in school, what they look like, how they smell, a bunch of different things where they can just kind of let go and just relax, relieve all that stress and all that worry and anxiety. So moving on to the second set, for 6th grade, we're going to be doing an activity. Also, we kind of did the same song, but it has a different movements to it. It's actually like a dance. So you're doing dance moves to this song. It's Baby Shark again. But the video that I would be presenting as well, along with what I'm doing, is by Stacy Ridley. And the equipment, it doesn't require any equipment, just having yourself and just maybe a projector to present the video. But other than that, there's nothing there that the kids need to have, which is great because they're able to just have fun in their own environment. They don't need anything, just their bodies and to get them moving. So it's a great warm-up for them. It's a lot of fun going through that video. So 7A, as I said, for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, we're all going through that 15-minute full body stretch to really relieve a lot of stress and muscle pain as well. So for lesson 7B, we are going through the cha-cha slide plank workout. So there's no equipment for this except just to present the video. And this is kind of like a workout, so more athletic type, able to use this with a little older bit of a group as they're getting more fine-tuned and want to be more fit, but also keeping that educational PE in there where they're learning different concepts and different vocabulary along with it. So just keeping that as a priority as well and not just fitness. So the cha-cha slide workout, plank workout, I think would be great for this age group as they're starting to develop more. They're starting to be able to push themselves and not just give up on things that are hard. So this is a great workout video for them. As I mentioned, the A lessons for all this educational games are all the full body stretches. So that's what lesson 8A is as well, following along with the yoga instructor and me. But lesson 8B, this is the Bring Sally Up song. So this is an extreme workout, doesn't take very long, but at the same time is a very strenuous workout that you can try to do multiple times. You can do it with squats, you can do it with push-ups, you can do it with basically any type of movement that you want that goes up and it goes down. So during the song, it'll say bring Sally up, bring Sally down. So at that time, you're moving in between these physical movements. And for this it really uses the concentric and eccentric movements, which really strains the muscles and tears them down, but also eventually helps to rebuild them up, make them stronger, make your students stronger. So I thought this was a great warm-up for the 8th grade as they are trying to get stronger and develop their muscles some more. So the Bring Sally Up song is a great way to do that. I actually had experience with this as a youth leader. I didn't know what this was, and when I was youth leading, some of the kids, we had a retreat, and they wanted to do it, so we all did it as a group and tried to do it as long as we could. So it's very challenging. I've done it myself. So I think this would be great for the 8th graders. So all the grades would do the stretching, as we talked about, for the educational games. So this would help build, just relieve all that stress and help stretch their muscles for these grades, 6th, 7th, and 8th. The second day, I tried to focus on things where they would participate in kind of like a mini workout, just to get their bodies warm. And I also tried to make it so the degree of difficulty also changed as they went up in grade level. So it got harder as they kind of went up. So I thought that was very important to make it more challenging for them. So we are on to the warm-ups for educational dance. Now these are all, they're all dance songs. So I picked the first activity were all kind of very fun, very wacky kind of songs that had dance moves to go along with them and videos to go along with them. And then on the second day for each grade, I chose something that was like a line dance or something very well-known dance that everybody can participate in, no matter what your skill level is in dancing. I know I'm not the best dancer, but you can always participate in these line dances. They're very simple, they're very easy, but it also gets you moving, and it's just a fun little warm-up for the kids to do, and I'm sure they'll enjoy. So for lesson 6A, we had the Gummy Bear song, and the video was actually done by Phys Ed Zone, and this was done by another phys ed teacher, and this video is just awesome way to get your kids warmed up very quickly, no equipment, and just to warm them up very fast. Goes from slow movement to fast movement in different sections and different movements, so it kind of builds on each other, accelerates those movements, and gets your body heated up very quickly. So as I talked about the line dances, for 6th grade, I chose the chicken dance. Everybody knows this song. It's very well known. All the movements are very well known. So this is a great way for the kids to kind of just have fun, get a good laugh in before our activity, and just have fun doing the line dance. So lesson 7A, another wacky song. So it's the song Water Buffalo by Super Chick, kind of from VeggieTales. And the video by Randy Parrish is just a great video that I was able to go through and decided it would be great for these 7th graders. Kind of a weird song, but just doing the movements and stuff with the song, it's very fun, and also gets you moving and warmed up. So for 7th grade, for their line dance, I chose the cubic shuffle. This was a dance that is historically known to be done at different dances for schools, different dances at weddings, and different events like that. So at this point, some people may not know it, and some people might know it, but it's very easy to learn as the music that goes along with it kind of explains the dance right inside of it. So we just need, for equipment, we just need stuff to play the music, and that's about it. And then they'd just be following me. So for 8A, another wacky one, kind of with a video by Randy Parrish. It's Walk 500 Miles, but it is a remix. So it throws a bunch of different songs in and just uses a bunch of different songs that are, I believe, age appropriate for that age in 8th grade. And I went through the whole thing, very age appropriate, but also isn't too low of a level for them where they just don't enjoy it. the music that is used in the song will engage the 8th graders. So for this, just got to play the music and then have the video of Randy Parrish, and they will also be following along with me. Very fun song, but also a little wacky. It's kind of fun. So I'm sure they would enjoy that. So for their line dance section, I chose the Macarena. So for this section, all you need is yourself and to just follow along with me. So we got the song playing and we know all the moves, and they'll just follow along with me. Most people know the Macarena, and it's pretty easy to teach and learn. So that's what I chose for 8th grade. But at the same time, it's a little more scaled to their grade level. So that's why I chose that one, and I thought it would work better. So the first day, all grades would participate in some sort of fun dance warm-up. It might be a weird song or a fun song. And this will help them get warm before the main lesson of the day. But the second day, all grades will warm up using a line dance, which will be fun and get them active, and maybe even teach them a line dance that they didn't know previously. Those are all that I have for the DNR warm-ups. So that's for each lesson, each day that I have. So those are all of those, and I will pick this up and start a new video explaining my different lesson plans for the different sections. Hi, this is Jacob Greasing, picking up where I left off, explaining the DNR activities, and we're about to get started explaining the educational gymnastic main activities for 6th through 8th grade. So as I go through these, might take me a while, I might chunk it up, having just a split video and combine them, doing the educational games, gymnastics, and dance. As I might need to get a drink of water or something. My voice dying with talking so long. But let's get started. So the first lesson I have my lesson plans progressing 6A, 7A, 8A, and then starts 6B, 7B, 8B. So just know that is going to be the progression style as we move forward, but I will be going through them 6A, 6B, 7A, 7B, 8A, and 8B will be the order, but won't be the progression exactly. So for 6th grade, we are going to focus our cognitive and motor objectives for this section is walking, self-space, balance, turning, weight transfer, general space, slow, and straight. So the equipment we're going to need is just the gym and the lines on the court. So we're just going to work on having our own self-space, not bumping into other people while we're doing the activity, just working in general space and following the instructions that I will give them, which I will talk about in a little bit. And also just keeping our hands to ourselves. Very important to just not invade somebody else's space, make them feel uncomfortable. So the activity warm-up for this section, I just want to have everybody get in a single file line with respect for everybody. And then you're going to follow the line around the perimeter of the basketball court for their warm-up, just to get the kids running or walking around. And they're just going to follow that line around, and then once they get back, they're going to stay in that single file line where they started. So the big part of this is, for this section of educational gymnastics, is the actions of the body parts and whole body balancing. So we're working on balancing here extremely in different ways, but they'll all be progressing on top of each other. So for this portion of the lesson, it focuses on the skill of balancing on the lines of the basketball court. So I call this game trapeze line course because that gets the kids to think of, the trapeze people at the circus where they're, bouncing on that line. And if they fall off, they have the netting there to catch them, but you want to stay on the line. So when I would say start, the first person in the line would start going down the line of the court, as I would have the course laid out, directions on where to go next to stay on those lines and to get to the finish line. But everyone has to be patient because not everybody goes at the same speed, and they just have to continue staying on the line, make sure they don't step off the line. But if anybody steps off the line, then they have to go back to the end of the line where they started, because they got out of or they fell off the line and fell into the secure netting of the course. So they have to start it over again. At that point, if anybody finishes the whole course, just have them jump right back into the end of the line and have them do it again. This continues to test their skills and their balance, just really fine motor movement and keeping those feet on the line. So moving on to lesson 6B. Still same focus on balancing. Sixth grade is kind of in the elementary stage, starting to move out of it, but I'm gonna leave them in that area for now. So for this section, just some of the different ones that I didn't read last time that I'm gonna list is twisting, balance, counterbalance, and countertension. I think are the different ones. Maybe weight transfer from the last one. So the equipment on this, just have different pieces of paper, different shapes and balances and movements to do, and just obviously the basketball court or gym, anywhere to just have space to work with the kids and have this activity. So again, kind of very similar objectives. I'll only mention ones if I think they're different from the last one. So on this one, the difference is working in self-space. You don't want to bump into anybody or hit anybody when they're other students when they're doing this activity, because they're doing this activity and they're going to be doing different movements, and maybe they lose control of their body or they fall or something. We just don't want to injure anybody else. So just to give each other enough space to where we're not falling on each other or hitting anybody. So that was the one difference, I think, in the social objectives. So for this warm-up, just have everybody get in a single file line. We are going to have them make their favorite shape or favorite balancing position. So give the students a few minutes to practice them, and then we're going to have the students get ready for our main activity to start, which is going to lead them into that activity. So the game for this one is word shapes / actions. So this portion of the lesson focuses on learning different balancing and body control terms, such as balancing, counterbalance, and countertension, twist, and weight transfer. So I would draw a word out of the bag and I would read it out loud. Then the students would have to perform the action, shape, or balance that I am portraying, that I said. And once the class has practiced the action, made sure everybody gets the action, they understand what they're doing, and to just know how to do it and do it with a decent level of competency, and just be able to do it pretty well. Then we can move on to the next word. But at the end of the activity, we can ask each student which one their favorite was to do, and then maybe have a couple students just show their favorite action or their favorite thing that they learned how to do, and maybe have them try and teach a couple kids that maybe be struggling with that action. So for the next one, we're on to lesson 7A. So this is kind of elementary, and we're kind of trying to move on to the mature stage in this time in 7th grade. So I'm going to read all the different motor objectives for this one. So I think some different ones might be fast, run, scattered, acceleration, stretch, and straight. So those might be the different ones for this one. Equipment, you're just having lines on the court. It's kind of similar to the first activity with the 6th graders. We're also going to be using the lines on the court, but it'll be a little different. The social objectives are pretty much the same. So the activity warm-up, we're going to have each student get in the single file line again. We're going to have them run around the half court or the full court. Just get them warmed up a little bit before activity, and making sure that they stay on the line, making sure that they know that is important and will be important for the activity today. So the game that I am doing with the 7th graders on this one. The game is called Trapeze Line Tag. So it's basically tag, except you have to stay on these lines. You have to make sure you're on the line and you're still bouncing on this line, kind of building off of trapeze line course when we did it with just falling off and progressing. This one kind of turns it into a little bit of a game. So when I would say start, the first person that is the tagger can start going down the lines and trying to tag other people. When somebody else is tagged, they become the tagger. And then remember that, just remind your students, and I would remind my students, that if you fall off the line, you have to go to a designated area, kind of like a jail or like that type of thing, where you have to go back to the certain area if you fall off. And then the tagger could come get you at that point and know that you fell off and you have to go back here. But just try to remember to stay on the lines while evading the tagger is the key. So moving on to the second lesson for 7th grade. So I think maybe a different motor objective for this one might be stretch and maybe turning. But for this one, we're just going to use the gym again, and we're going to maybe be playing some music. The social objectives are very similar. I found that the social objectives sometimes, when teaching a class, sometimes you always have the same ones. You should always be respecting the other students. You should always be able to work in self-space and work in general space without disrupting other students or other people, and also always be following instructions given from me, the teacher, and we should all know that we should always be keeping our hands to ourselves. Those are kind of the similar for each activity in each grade because they apply to all grades. So to get to our warm-up activity, each student will have time to think of how they can balance by themselves. So with this activity, it's kind of going to be a progression from individual balancing to partner balancing in 8th grade. So these two are kind of parallels. So one's by themselves and one's with a partner. The partner one will be for 8th grade though. So they're going to think of how to balance by themselves. They're going to think about how they could teach somebody else the same movement that they want to do. And then they're going to practice their individual balancing movement. This is going to get them comfortable with it, even though they haven't done it in a while, or maybe they just don't know how to present it to somebody else. So this is getting them ready for the main activity. So the main activity is called individual balance sharing. So we are going to focus on balancing individually and balancing in certain ways that other students might not have thought about. So when the student has their favorite balancing position in action, they can practice it for one more minute. We're going to give them another minute to practice it, get any kinks out that they have in their position and figure it out. Then each student will share their favorite balancing position, and they're going to teach it to the rest of the class, and just teach them how to perform it, teach them how to do it, and then they'll move on to the next person. But when all the different balancing movements are done, we're going to go over the different movement elements that were used in the activity. And then we're going to have all the students try combining a couple of the balance movements into a movement sequence, which will kind of be a progression into the activity with 8th graders, starting to have that progression of, all right, now we're moving into a movement sequence. Instead of just doing one action, we're going to add a couple. So for that activity, it's kind of adding on to it. So to get to grade 8, grade 8 is the mature stage, and we are having just a lot of different terms for motor objectives on this one. So some of the different ones are sagittal space or sagittal plane, frontal plane, transverse plane, and alone in a group. So all of these apply to this activity. So the equipment that we need tape to mark the furthest throw for, it's going to be a paper plane activity. So we're going to need tape to mark those points, and we're going to need paper for the kids to fold into paper airplanes. So the objectives are mainly the same, And moving to our warm-up, we're just going to have each student think about how they could make their paper airplane and how they would teach somebody else their style of paper airplane. And then we're also going to have the students think about how they would fly it, how they could imagine their plane flying. Would it just crash or would it keep going and just soar? So for this portion, we are just learning a lot of vocab here. Obviously, we have a lot of different motor objectives, and we are teaching different vocab, and we're doing that through the different planes that our bodies have. So just like each student would learn what different planes are and how they would apply them to balancing, we're having the activity airplanes, which they will learn these different vocab words by cutting their body kind of like with the airplane. And so if the airplane soars right here, okay, what is that plane going to be cutting at? Or if it comes straight down like this, what is it going to be? Or like this, what is it going to be? So just learning those different planes are important for the students and getting that vocabulary adjusted to them and get them to learn it. And also have a lot of fun while doing it. So the students will get in a single file line to get their paper. They'll be given their paper and instructed to make their paper airplane how they imagined it when they were doing their warm-up. I will be talking about the different planes and how they reside in the space that we balance and how they're used all the time. I will then invite the students to go out and get on the baseline of the basketball court, and one at a time we would have each student throw a paper airplane and see how far it goes. The furthest one is the winner, and after that activity, kind of recap the vocab, make sure that all the students understand what the different planes are and can kind of repeat them back to me and tell me what they are when I ask them. So for lesson 8B, very similar objectives to 7B. As I talked about, they were very, very in line, very few differences, but still progressing because we are, instead of just doing individual balancing movements, we are doing partner balancing movements. So for the activity warm-up, I would divide them up into pairs. Each group would get time to think about how they want to balance with their partner and how they could teach other groups. And then they would have some time to practice these different movements. So with this, they're learning two different things, two main vocab words they're learning in this activity, which is counterbalance and countertension. So instead of having just balance where they're not resting on something else or they're not pushing against something else to stay balanced, they're just balancing by themselves. But with a partner, they learn these two different vocab words that are very important for them to learn. So this will teach them how to learn in different ways that they may not have thought about when balancing individually. And so this activity that I created was called partner balance sharing. So kind of similar to individual balance sharing, same concept, same idea, except we're just progressing through using countertension and counterbalancing. So practice with your partner for a minute again. Share your favorite balance. When everybody's done, we'll go over all the different movements that were taught and shared by the different partners. And then we'll have a few students, we'll have all the students try to combine a few of their favorite ones into a movement sequence with their partner. So now they're trying to form movement sequences and do it with a partner. So that's the progression through that. Just to go through this motor learning applications chart for teaching educational gymnastics, we went through the trapeze line course, the trapeze line tag, airplanes, word shapes and actions, individual balance sharing, and then partner balance sharing. So you can see this chart that I have uploaded I won't take the time to go through all these individually because the video is getting so long. But I just thought it was very interesting how some of these activities lined up differently with the part method, block method, and random method, and as well variable method. So make sure you go check that out. I tried to do my best with that and just to explain and kind of put all the categories in the right area for each activity. So please go check that out. I'm going to stop the video here, get a drink of water. Been talking for almost 20 minutes. So then we're going to pick up with educational games, and this will be our next series of lesson plans that I go over for the 6 lesson plans and the 3 different grades. So I will see you soon. All right, this is Jacob Greasing, applying for that PE job, and I am back. Got a drink of water. Hopefully that helps my throat a little bit. Kind of losing my voice a little bit as I talk, but I'm just going to power through it and hope that my voice lasts for these last couple sections of lesson plans that I need to go through with you guys. So I'm kind of going to skip over the motor objectives and if the social objectives change, I will let you know through the lesson plans. But other than that, I'm going to try and just focus on the different activities that I have planned and the warm-ups that I have planned. That way I can kind of cut down on some time. That way you don't have to be watching this for hours and hours. And to save my voice a little life, because I think it's dying on me a little bit. So here we go, starting educational games with lesson 6A for 6th grade. Our motor objectives for this section and are kind of going to apply to all the grades, are walking, self-space, dribbling, which is definitely a new one that we haven't had yet, running, general space, fast and slow, and straight. So equipment for this is the gym and 1 basketball per student, and I'm going to have my whistle to use for the game. So to just cover our social objectives for one time for this video, we're working in our self-space, keeping basketballs to ourselves as well as our hands to ourselves, and we're working in general space. We're following directions given by me, the teacher, during the activities, and on this one we are going to be working against each other to drive competition, kind of motivate the kids to push themselves a little harder. For the activity warm-up, we're going to have the kids get into a single file line. We're then going to give them a basketball, and we're going to direct them to the baseline, have them dribble to the opposite end and back, because dribbling is going to be one of our focuses for the educational game section. So our main overall objective for this section of educational games is going to be manipulative control with gaining control and sending away. So by gaining control, I mean the control of dribbling, just handling the ball well and being able to control it and not let the ball go away all the time when trying to dribble it if they lose control. By sending away, I mean shooting the ball. So this is sending the ball away as you would pull up for a jump shot or a layup or anything like that would be sending away. And those are going to be our 2 focuses for the educational game section. So for this game, I am really focusing on just making sure that they can stop the ball whenever they choose to. This is a big issue that I feel like a lot of students struggle with, and so we're going to attack it right away and just help them learn and develop that skill to stop the ball on command and be able to do that. So basically the game that I have for them to play is red light, green light, and we're just, instead of just having them run or walk or do something like that, we are using basketballs with us. So we're going to have them dribble straight forward as fast as they can. When I say green light, but with control of the ball. That is extremely important in this section. We want them to control the ball. If I say red light, they need to stop as fast as possible. I'm sure at this point, many students will lose control of the ball. And now that I think about this, this is the activity I'm meant to be presenting. So I am going to get up and kind of present it, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going to have all the kids line up on the baseline. I'm going to be looking at them, and I'm going to turn around, and I will say, green light, and then I'll turn, and this is when they'll start running forward, dribbling the ball, but under control as fast as they can. I'll turn around and say, red light, and so they'll have to stop as fast as possible. And I can just imagine at this time, with sixth graders, some of them don't know how to control the ball well at this point. So at this point, the kids are running at me, and I just yelled red light. So they're dribbling up, and do they know how to stop the ball yet? Or have they developed that skill? So if they haven't, the ball might just keep going. And at that point, I would just let them know at the beginning of the activity before we start that it is okay if you lose control of the ball. But the idea and focus of this game is to learn how to control the ball. So as they go forward and they're asked to stop and they can't stop and the ball just keeps going, I'll just say, hey, just go get it, just walk over, get it, and return to where you were. And then we'll just keep going with that activity. And so I'll just remind them that they need to make sure they're listening to me, that they're not just continuing to dribble when I say red light, to make sure they listen very closely with their ears, to make sure that they are listening to the teacher, me, as I give different instructions. So at that point, I might turn back around and say green light, and I turn red light. And so all of them got to stop and control the ball. So this is very important just to develop that skill. So that was kind of me acting out the different activity that I chose to act out. So as I get seated back down and continue to present this information. So if they lost control of the ball, just go grab it. Walk over and go grab it wherever it's at. That's okay. Sometimes kids don't have this skill yet, and it's very important to develop it, which is why we are using a game that's focusing on that skill. So they would just return to their last position, and when I blow my whistle, which is part of the equipment that I talked about earlier, they would just return to the baseline. So I blow my whistle, and then they would return to the baseline where they started at, because at this point it means that somebody won, somebody passed me, which is how you win, in control of the ball, and they got past me, so they made it before I said red light, and they won that round. So they would just restart and try and do it again, just remind them to be under control of the ball. So moving into the next lesson. So the second one, we are having a different motor objective, which is groups, fast, passing, and throwing or shooting is what I'm calling it. But that is one of the elements, is throwing. So shooting and throwing are kind of synonymous in that situation. So for the equipment this time, same equipment, except there's only going to be one basketball per group. A couple different social objectives would be working in self-space, but knowing how to pass the ball well to the next person, as we're going to be doing a relay for this game, that they can do that nicely and not be rude or destructive with how they're throwing the ball too aggressively or anything like that, that they're just kind but also urgent as they're trying to be fast. And then also just working together to excel and encouraging group members, just encouraging each other to do well, to cheer for each other and that kind of thing. So for the activity warm-up, we're going to have them get in a single file line. Only one student per group needs to come to get a ball. So I'll hand out the ball, and then I will direct them to a designated hoop for their group as they'll begin to practice shooting the ball a couple times with the whole group. just to get them warmed up, kind of know what they're doing for the day, as they're going to be using that skill. So for this portion, they're going to be using the manipulative skill of shooting the basketball. The goal of this activity is for them to try and score 10 points before the other groups do. So this is going to be a shooting relay. This mostly promotes good passing and catching skills, as well as good shooting skills. So sometimes it's not as important that you're good at shooting, but that you have good quick handoffs where you're throwing the ball very, very nicely and neatly to your teammates, where they can grab the ball and take their next shot. So each group will be divided into two halves, one group to rebound and one to shoot. So the rebounding group will grab the miss, they'll go up for the miss, and they'll rebound it, and then they'll pass it to the next person. That person will be in the shooting line. Then the rebounding person would get in the back of the shooting line. So it kind of weaves. It's like a weaving X thing where they're coming together, and then they're passing here, and they're getting in behind, and the shooter comes back behind here. So it's kind of like an X formation that they're making. So obviously, just like I just said, the shooting group will get in the back of the line of the rebounding line. When I blow the whistle there to start the rotation of shooting and rebounding, and I just wanted to remind them that they need to be encouraging their teammates no matter what happens. If they're not making their shots, not making good passes, just to make sure they encourage each other to do well. So for lesson 7A, we're kind of back to dribbling a little bit. So a new motor objective is zigzag. This is a different one opposed to the other motor objectives we've had. We need one basketball per group again, and very similar social objectives this time. So our activity warm-up, we're going to have all the kids get in line, get a basketball, one student per group though, and the students will be directed to the baseline, and they're just going to dribble through the cones, set up for the relay, and come back nicely, handing the ball to the next teammate. So they're kind of warming up for the activity that we're going to be taking more seriously in a few minutes, just to get them used to what they're trying to do, and kind of setting up that skill where they know what they're doing and how they're going to handle the ball. So this promotes good passing, catching skills, and dribbling skills. When I blow the whistle, each group is going to dribble through the cones in a zigzag motion. The cones are going to be set up in a zigzag motion, so they'll just be weaving around the cones. And then they're going to come back after they reach the end, and they're going to come on their way back, and then they're going to pass the ball to the next person. If they were to lose control of the ball and it rolls away, just walk over to where it's at, grab it, and return to where you were. After you completed the course, remember to cheer and encourage your teammates. Very important to keep them excited about the game, but as well to encourage the other people that are still in it. So moving to lesson 7B. So on this one we add throwing or shooting. We also add a new motor objective, which is solo in a mass. So they're going to be competing in a mass of people, but it's just one person that is focusing on. So all the social objectives are very similar. So on this one student will be thrown a ball for the warm-up. The students will wait for the person to shoot, and whoever gets the rebound is the next person that gets to shoot. So this encourages good rebounding, as well as boxing out, kind of a different skill in the basketball realm. And that when you get the rebound, you get to shoot. So if you don't get the rebound, you don't get to shoot. So it really encourages the students to begin to care about rebounding a lot. And this is going to be incredibly important in the upcoming activity that we do. So that activity is called the Game 21. So this is one of the best games to promote a lot of different skills that are used in basketball all the time. So this promotes good rebounding, catching, jumping, shooting skills, and dribbling skills. All of those skills are covered in this game. So it really is a lot of different skills that are being covered. So all students of that group will play at one hoop after the game is what is called broken, which is somebody will throw the ball at the backboard or the rim, and however it comes off, whoever gets the rebound, that starts the game. So if the person with the ball that gets the rebound can try to dribble around all the other students and score, but they could also get the ball stolen from them from other students. Or when they get the rebound, they could just shoot it right away. So if a student makes a shot, they go to the free throw line for 3 shots. 1, 2, 3. And a shot is worth 2 points if it's just a regular shot. But if it is free throw that comes after you make a shot, it is worth 1 point. So this would add to your score every time. And if a student misses at any time, the ball is live. So anybody can get the rebound and then put it back in. But from the free throw line, if they miss, it's also a free game. Anyone can score again, not just that person. So in this game, that's how you keep adding points, you keep scoring, and the first person to 21 points is the winner of this game. So this really is a very fun game for a lot of students. Students like it, teachers like it, there's a lot of people that like it. It's a very competitive game, very, very intense game, gets you sweaty, gets you warm, and promotes a lot of movement. Especially if you know how to play the game right. You're constantly moving all the time. You're defending somebody, you're shooting, you're dribbling, you're positioning for a rebound, you're boxing somebody out. There's just so many different things that can be promoted in this game, which is why I think it is a great game for the 7th graders as they start to grow up. So for lesson 7A, we're kind of moving back to dribbling section. The activity where we're getting a ball and they're going to be dribbling in their own space for a couple minutes. Just make sure they have the dribbling skill down. So for this portion, very much focuses on protecting the ball while dribbling. So they're not just dribbling because anybody can steal the ball at any time. So this helps them focus on protecting the ball with the game they're going to play, which is called dribble elimination. So they're going to be in the paint or the box, whatever you want to call it. It is the box that is created by the lines on the court connecting the baseline, the 2 parallel lines, and then the free throw line. It's called the paint. So they're all going to be in here dribbling their basketball. Well, dribble elimination happens when you lose control of your ball. The ball goes out of that box. So kids can try and steal the ball. They can try and knock the ball away from their other students or other peers. And if that happens, they get eliminated. They have to go get their ball, and they watch the rest of the competition. These games can be very quick, and they can be very long, depending on how aggressive the students are being with each other, trying to knock the ball away. And sometimes it's not the best technique, because sometimes when you're not focusing on yourself, you lose control of the ball yourself when trying to knock somebody else's ball out. So when this happens, when somebody gets to the end and finally knocks the last person out, you can choose to restart the activity, do it a couple rounds. This is really great for them to learn to protect the ball and also to knock the ball out. So for lesson 8B, a couple different motor objectives is groups or teams, jumping, passing for this one. So we're only going to have 1 basketball per game. For the equipment, we need multiple hoops, and they're going to be working against each other to be competitive. So for their warm-up, we're just going to have rebounding and shooting for this warm-up activity. Whoever gets the rebound gets the next shot. Promotes rebounding, like we talked about earlier with a different group. So for this portion, we're just going to have them play a 3v3 basketball game. So 3 people versus 3 people. This is as simple as it can get, but also includes all the different points and all the different areas of the game of basketball. So this game will promote rebounding, catching, jumping skills, along with dribbling and shooting skills. So the students will be divided up and distributed to different hoops. The basketball game, when playing 3v3 or like a pickup game, is always started with a check. So that starts from the offensive person throwing the ball to the defensive person. So they're saying, my team is ready. And then the defensive person looks around. They might check their teammates. You guys good? And then they're going to pass the ball back. So that is a check. The game is started at that point. The defensive guy passing it back to the offensive guy that says, I'm ready. My team's ready. Let's start competing. So that's when the ball starts and the game starts. So at this point, the students are just going to play the game of basketball. This will be explained in more detail, but I don't have time to go through all the rules of the game of basketball. But hopefully by 8th grade, they know many kids grow up playing basketball, playing youth basketball and different things, watching the game, watching varsity sports. So many of them will already know the rules of the game. But for a teacher, for me, I'm going to have the students call their own fouls and call their own turnovers. But if they need me, they can come to me for a dispute or a different call or something they disagree with. And they need somebody to sway the decision. So I can be that person for them. But at the end of the 10 minutes, we are going to switch teams. So we're going to put the winners against the winners and the teams that lost against the teams that lost. So it kind of becomes more of an even playing field for them. And that promotes better competition as well as improving skills better because it matches the levels up a little better. So that is the last lesson plan to go through. So to just go through the progression of the different things, we went from red light, green light to dribble relay to dribble elimination, shooting relay, the game of 21, and then to 3v3 basketball. So I have all these this chart of motor learning applications, along with the teaching of educational games, and I have this chart all filled out and ready to go and for you to see. So I'm not going to go through that very in depth as this video is already very long, 20 minutes long again, and I will pick up where I left off and start talking about educational dance. Hi, this is Jacob Greasing, ready to go through the rest of my curriculum for educational dance and those different lesson plans. So let's get right to it. Like I said in the last video, I'll go through motor objectives and cognitive objectives if I see that any have changed, and the same with equipment and social objectives, but I'll read them the first time all the way through. Excuse me. So motor objectives for this one: narrow, wide, round, twisted, stretch, curl, and fast. Equipment, we just need a list of a variety of easy shapes to make and background music if wanted. The social objectives are all the same essentially, except for just respecting each other while making shapes within your group, because that is what this activity will be for this lesson. So going right into the warm-up, we're going to ask the students to space out on the floor and have students be ready to form different shapes. We're going to yell out a shape to form, and the students will try and quickly form these shapes that are expressed. So that moves right into our main activity, which is shape it up. And this focuses on the shapes our bodies make for educational dance. And it just promotes the process of dance, and it makes it easier because it makes the activity competitive and promotes teamwork as well. Dance for me sometimes makes me feel uncomfortable, so I feel like a game like this allows them to feel more comfortable and easy around it, and easy to the idea of progressing through this as they get older, going through my classes. So the first thing the students are going to do is they're just going to be divided up into groups and given their own area to make shapes so that nobody's hitting each other or running into each other. So I will give them a shape to make, and the students will not start right away. So I'm going to give them 10 to 15 seconds of think time. So they're going to be able to brainstorm with each other how they want to create this shape that I give them. So when I say go, the students will start making their shape on a big scale with their group members. So the first group that I think looks the closest to what I described on the floor gets a point. And the first group to 10 points would win the activity that I set up for them. So moving on to 6B, just to reiterate, the main overarching theme for these is using the body to form body shapes and dance sequences. So we're going to shift from making shapes and different movements into dance sequences. So for sixth grade, for lesson 6B, a couple new ones is just low, medium, and symmetrical. So the equipment needed for this, we're going to use whiteboard markers, and some age-appropriate music. Obviously, keep it age-appropriate for the classroom. We will always be doing that with anything that we use in the classroom. Make sure it's age-appropriate for the school and for the grade that is watching it. So for our warm-up activity for the second activity for sixth grade, we are going to ask the students to space out on the gym floor, have them ready to think of their favorite dance move. So this is where we kind of move into the dance section and into dance sequences. And having the students think of how they would explain it to class and have the kids practice their favorite dance move for a few minutes, just to make sure that they know how to explain it and how to perform it as well. So this activity is called Popular Dance Move Edition. So the students will raise their hands and they'll tell the class what their favorite dance move is, and they will show us how to do it. So after the first student goes, I'm going to write down these different dance moves on the board, and we're just going to start writing them down in order. And after 5 to 10 dance moves are on the board, we will take the time to add them all together. So that's where the Popular Dance Move Edition comes from. We are adding these dance moves together into one dance sequence. So this is where they start to learn about dance sequences and just adding those moves together and go through a dance sequence while having some music playing in the background, just to promote some good dancing, good music, some good attitudes, and good vibes. So nothing really changed for motor objectives going to lesson 7A. So now we're in the 7th grade activity. So equipment, we just need a list of more complicated shapes, numbers, ideas to make. So it's kind of going to be like Shape It Up, except advanced. Much harder ideas and different shapes to make. It's going to be a lot harder for them to use this and just to create the shapes. More complex, harder than the year before, progressing through these things. So it's a kind of a very similar warm-up to the 6A lesson plan, where they are trying to form these shapes very quickly. And little did they know they're going to be doing it on a large scale with their groups. So we're dividing them up into groups. Then I am going to give them very complex shapes, numbers, and ideas. So I might say snow. How do they create snow? Can they make a snowflake? Would they think of something else to depict snow? Or just a broader idea that they can kind of be creative with and just show me how to make that shape and just be creative with what they're doing. So I'll allow them 5 to 10 seconds of think time, a little less than the grade lower, just because we want to keep it spontaneous, keep it active, and just keep the progression going. They get less time as they get older. So when I would say go and give them their I already gave them their idea, and I say go, they start making that shape or idea at a large scale with their group members. The first group to look like what I said on the floor gets the point, and the first group to 10 points wins. So, moving on to 7B. A couple different motor objectives that I notice is high and low. Equipment, we just need the gym and age-appropriate music. Same type of social objectives. And on this one, for the activity warm-up, we are, again, kind of going to ask them what's their favorite dance move. Think of how to explain it, practice it a little bit, get used to it, and then we're going to be using that again in the next activity. So the activity is called Popular Dance Sequence. So instead of Popular Dance Move Addition, we're now moving into sequences. So the students will be divided into separate groups. In these groups, they'll make their own movement sequences using these popular dance moves that they kind of thought about in the warm-up. These movement sequences will eventually be performed in front of the class. So the big idea here is not to make anybody feel uncomfortable, but to get them used to making these dance sequences and then practicing them. So if we have the kids do it in front of the class, they're going to want to make sure they don't mess up. They're going to want to make sure that they put pressure on themselves to exceed and excel in what they're doing. So really pushes the idea of movement sequences. And as a teacher, I would strongly express there's no room for making fun of anybody based off their ability to dance. I'm not a great dancer. And so just to make the students feel comfortable, you can't have somebody laughing at somebody else because they might do a dance move different or do it weird, or maybe they don't know exactly what they're doing, but that's not acceptable in the classroom. So moving on to lesson 8A, very similar motor objectives, very similar equipment, very similar social objectives, and we are adding to the social objective not making fun of students for their dancing skills. Not acceptable in the classroom, as we just went over. For their warm-up, we're going to have them space out. It's going to kind of be like a little mix-up where the students, I'm going to just tell the students that it doesn't matter how they're moving. It doesn't matter if they know dance moves or they don't. And if they do, have them feel free, very free to dance and do whatever dance moves they feel comfortable with the music on that I will be playing. And by this time, I hope that I know my students enough to put on a really good song that they all like. They all can groove to, they all can dance to, and just enjoy themselves. So that's our activity warm-up, just to get them comfortable with dancing, dancing in front of their peers, and just having fun. And if they don't know how to dance well, that's fine, just as long as they're moving. Moving is dance, and no matter what you're doing, movement is good for the educational framework of PE, and that is the key. That is the goal that we are trying to get all our students to do, is just to move, to exercise. So to stress that, and instead of just saying that you can only do dance moves, well, just do moves. Move. That's all I can ask for. So as we're going into our activity, this is going to be called Dance Party, this activity. So we're just going to have students spread out. And when the songs come on that I decide to play that are age appropriate for them, they're going to do dance moves, and they're going to dance. And I hope that this warm-up of creating just movement and excitement and fun will carry into this activity where they're just dancing when the songs come on. They're just moving and grooving and that kind of thing to the songs. And when the song ends, they can relax for a bit. They can go get a drink of water or just talk or whatever until I start playing the next song. And then they'll, start dancing again. And so I think the dance party idea just having an activity where dance is promoted and just movement is great for this age group of eighth graders. So very similar motor objectives, equipment, and social objectives. Just to move to their warm-up, I'm going to have the kids space out on the floor. And I want the kids this time, instead of thinking of dance moves or popular dance moves or movement sequences that they'd want to do, I want them to think of songs they can make a dance to. So as we progress, we want each activity to get a little harder, to get a little more complex, and I think this is a good way to lead into that. So I want the students to also think of what type of dance moves they would include along with the song that they chose, and have the students talk about that in their groups. So this activity that kind of spurred off of 7B is called Dance Sequence Plus. So it promotes a larger movement sequences and different types of dancing. It'll start to get the students to make dance sequences, and they get to choose how to make it. They can be creative, they can do whatever they want as long as it's appropriate for the classroom, and it has to go along with an appropriate song for at least 2 minutes. So I'm not trying to make them make this long, complicated thing. Just to be creative, to do whatever they want. They can kind of be repetitive. If they're not comfortable, they can be very creative and have a different dance move for every 4 count or 8 count. I don't care, as long as it's appropriate for the classroom and lasts at least 2 minutes. So we're going to divide these kids up into separate groups. We're going to have the students make their own movement sequences, and those movement sequences will be performed along with the song in front of the class for at least 2 minutes, with an age-appropriate song, of course. So as the teacher, again, I'm going to express that there's no room for making fun of anybody, no room for bullying, absolutely none, especially with dancing ability. People are very sensitive about this, very fragile, and just want to make sure that they are not being made fun of, because that's going to make them not want to dance at all. It's going to make them not want to move or participate in these activities that we want them to have experience in and feel comfortable with. Everybody should be comfortable with just being able to move in front of other peers, and that would definitely fight against that. So those are all my lesson plans. Quickly, just want to go through the fractionalization of my progression in the motor learning applications chart for teaching educational dance. So the progression goes from lesson 6A, which was Shape It Up, to lesson 7A, which was Shape It Up Advanced, to lesson 8A, Dance Party, to lesson 6B, Popular Dance Move Addition, and then to lesson 7B, Popular Dance Sequence, and then lesson 8B, Dance Sequence Plus. So that covers all of my criteria and lesson plans for this job application. I appreciate the board reviewing me for this position, and I think I'm a great match for your middle school, and I think I will be able to influence and help your kids become better people, healthier people, and to just promote movement and to help those kids develop that lifelong expectation and want to exercise and move throughout their entire life, keeping a healthy lifestyle long term. So thank you for reviewing me and the different charts that I made to explain the different types of practice. I didn't get to get into that much, but I use different types for each activity. Some of them being fractionalization, segmentation, random practice method, and blocked practice method. Those are the ones that I can think of offhand right now, but I use all those and align the charts as such. So if you want to go back and look at those, please do. But this, combining it all together is going to be an extremely long video. I'm sorry that I took so long reviewing all this information. It's going to be a lot. But I appreciate you considering me for the position, and Hope that you have a Merry Christmas this season. All right, thank you. Bye.